Last night, the Carolina Hurricanes were able to come away with another shutout over the Chicago Blackhawks this season, ending the season series against Chicago 2-0. Find out how the Hurricanes were able to come away with that shootout, as well as some roster moves made earlier today in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Wednesday evening. Make sure you follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes and myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And last night, the Carolina Hurricanes were able to come away with another 3-0 shutout victory over the Chicago Blackhawks this season. That was the score the first time these two teams played, and now the season series against Chicago is over, and the Hurricanes won that season series 2-0. So big congratulations there. This was a series that the Hurricanes were supposed to win. These were games they're supposed to win, and that's exactly what they did last night, and that's what they've been doing for a while, because with that win over Chicago, the Hurricanes are now on a franchise best 15 game point streak. They've gone 13-0-2 in that stretch, and this coming off of a really abysmal stretch where they did not look good at all. Yeah, you had a win scattered here and there, but you know they were really struggling to get things clicking, and now things are clicking and firing on all cylinders. Well, most cylinders, and we'll get to that later. But with that win as well, they've now won 9 straight games as well, which ties a franchise record. And which will be really interesting is the team that broke that streak the last time was the Florida Panthers, and that is who the Hurricanes' next game is against. So we'll see if history repeats itself or if the Hurricanes can avoid that. But we will discuss that more come Friday. But now let's talk about last night's game. Again, this was a shutout victory, and it was Annti Rannta's first shutout of the year, his first since March of last year when he shut out the Avalanche with 36 saves. And in my opinion, this is what he needed. He's played 3 straight games, and he hasn't looked great. I mean, obviously the Hurricanes have been getting wins, which is awesome. Especially those previous 2 games against Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. And like I said, that's good, but Annti Rannta hasn't looked like the same guy we saw last year. And he's just kind of struggling to find a groove. And I think this was a game that he needed to get his confidence back. He said, and we'll hear from him later about feeling like he was missing some key saves, and I feel that this was a game that he needed to really get himself back on the right track. I think that having a performance like this is going to be one that he can build off of and move forward. We'll see if he's playing against the Panthers on Friday, or if Piotr's back in between the pipes. That's just something we'll wait and see with on that. But I think that Annti Rannta, he needs a couple more games like this. Not necessarily a shutout, but really good performances from him to be like, all right, I got it. And one thing I do think that may have affected him in this little stretch that we're in of him not looking so great is how little he was playing. I said that I think that he should have gotten in a couple more games than he has, but they kept rolling with Piotr. And while that is not a bad thing, I don't want you to think that I think that is a bad thing. The kid was hot and he's playing great hockey. Yeah, play him. Go with the hot set of hands. I do feel that may have had a negative impact on Annti Rannta just from him sitting for so long. We've seen that countless times, across the NHL and hockey world. Someone sits for maybe a few games too long, and okay, it takes them a little bit to get in the groove of things. And that happens, and you know the Hurricanes were able to come away with the wins. That's the important thing. But I do feel that Annti Rannta, another couple games like this are just really good performances, and he'll be back into the form that we saw last year. I think that it's those poor performances are not necessarily poor, but questionable. I don't think that that's a foreboding sign or anything like that. When it comes to him, I think it was just he sat for too long. But he had a great performance from the Hurricanes or for the Hurricanes, and that's what we saw from a lot of guys as well. And we'll continue to talk about the Hurricanes' effort in last night's game. But first, before we do that, we are going to hear from Annti Rannta and what he had to say after the game last night.
Especially you. You're not passing though.
Rance, I'll go ahead and get us started off here with you getting a shutout tonight, man. I mean, how big was this for you and your confidence in what you're trying to accomplish this year and the momentum to get off of this?
Yeah, obviously, there's been a few games this year where you felt that you haven't been able to make those key saves, and there's been too many goals where you're being like, oh no, like why did I do that? And I think that's all comes like too much thinking and too much worrying about something. Now it was kind of like the mentality today was just like every day, but now it was kind of more in your head that you just want to stay in the moment and just worry about what's going to happen next, not worry about what happened 2 minutes ago or what's going to happen 5 minutes in 5 minutes. So obviously, yeah, big team win, and obviously it's always nice to keep the clean sheet.
How comforting was it that so much of the action was at the other end of the ice for you tonight, especially the first period?
Yeah, it's kind of almost a little bit our trademark here that the first 10-15 minutes is usually in the other end, so you just try to keep yourself warm and focused, but it's if we keep playing like that, it's tough building to any team to come. And I think the first and third period were great examples when we put pucks deep and then put it to the point and shot, and that's how you get the shot total that high, and you also get the goals. So obviously good team effort, and when the game was 3-0, they really didn't have any top chances, maybe one there at the end, but other than that, our guys were doing a great job.
What does it mean to you to be a part of this historic streak that you guys have going on right now? I know you don't win Stanley Cups in December or January, but still, this has got to mean something for you guys to be a part of this, right?
Yeah, I think you just go one day at a time, and you just focus what's going to happen next, and I don't think if anyone are thinking too much about the streaks or anything like that. I think it's more about the media hyping it and the team service guys making good stories in Twitter and like that. But we try to go every game to play our best and win the game. And if we keep playing like this, we're gonna get lots of wins. So it's a good confidence booster. But I don't think that we're worrying too much about the streaks. We just want to improve and play good hockey.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, so in hearing from Annti Rannta again, that he's not caring about the streaks and whatnot that the Hurricanes have going on. This is the same case last year. No one was really caring about that, and it's fun. But again, it's cool. On the in your notes and all that of like, okay, yeah, this is really cool. But at the end of the day, like they said, you don't want Stanley Cups in December. You don't want them in January. So the Hurricanes, they got to get just focus on the next game. And I think that, one thing the Hurricanes did, in this game was, Where they should have won it is, well, they did win it, but you should win the game is, like they mentioned, the shot totals. The Hurricanes had a new record in first period shot totals with 23 shots in the first period alone. Second period was down to 7. The second period was not great. They took a lot of penalties there. And then bounced back here in the third period with 19 shots on goal, having 49 total shots in this game. You should win the game if that's the case. But we very much have seen the opposite of that in the past, where the Hurricanes have 40 plus shots on goal. And I think it was a game against the Rangers where they actually got shut out or only had like one goal or something like that. But yeah, we've seen the opposite of that. But this is the outcome that you want whenever you see a shot totals like that. That's what you want. Marty Necas, he led the team with 6 shots in this game against Chicago, and we will hear from Necas and what he had to say about the game, and we will continue to dive into this game right after this quick break, folks. Folks, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds, trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to the college bowl season and basketball. They've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, which I know you do, you can even find those at betonline.net as well. They are the fastest and easiest way to get all of your betting info. So head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, like I said, folks, we did get to hear from Marty Necas, and we will hear from him in just a few minutes. But he opened up the scoring in this game just a little over 3.5 minutes in, and he is now just one away from tying his career high in goals. So big congratulations to him on that. He has had that dog in him this season. He has really came back with a vengeance this year after having a not great season last year. He has really looked a lot better this year. Jesper Foss got another goal. That's back-to-back games with him. And then, of course, Jordan Martinook getting one in the third as well. But, one thing that I am loving right now for the Hurricanes, obviously the winning ways. Marty Necas having that dog in him, and Jordan Martinook having that dog in him. That third line in general. But it is the blue line. Brent Burns, Brady Shea, and Brett Pesce all had assists in last night's game. And that is the 6th straight game with defensemen or defensemen racking up points. And in the past 15 games, the defensemen have combined for 40 points. It's insane. And that is one thing that, earlier in the year, the blue line, they were just not showing up, whether it was doing their job as defensemen or just showing up on the score sheet. It wasn't happening earlier in the year, especially in that, really ugly stretch. But now it has been firing on all cylinders. And, with Brent Burns netting assists last night, he leads the team in assists with 20, and he has hit the 20 assist mark in the last 10 seasons. So he has really started to hit his stride in terms of the offensive side of his game here. The defensive side of things is improving, but it's still, we're still having those lapses and stuff like that. It's not as bad as it was, but as I've said many times, this year, he spent 11 years in San Jose. Getting used to here, it's gonna take a little bit, and has gotten better. And he's really hitting his stride, and everyone's loving it. And I think he's really added a lot to this team, and I'm really excited to see where things will go as the season progresses. And like I said, enough of Brent Burns. We did get to hear from Marty Necas, following last night's game. Again, he opened up the scoring. He's one away from tying his career high, which I guarantee you he will do. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if he does it Friday against Florida, but we got to get to that game first. And before that, we still got to hear from him. And this is what Marty Necas had to say following last night's game.
Marty, I guess we'll just go ahead and start off just with this historic streak that you guys have going on. How important was it for you guys to come out here and play to the best of your ability against a team that's kind of struggling right now? Make sure you bring your A game regardless.
Yeah, I mean, we all had, our team, obviously, all teams in the league. We had a three-day break, which obviously it's not really fun to play after 3 days off. But it was nice to get off hockey for a little bit. Think about other things, being with your families, and it was important to get back. And we had a good start, which was huge, and a good game.
How important was it to have that nice finishing period too after maybe the other night not finishing so well?
Yeah, it's always nice. Rams played great today. PK was on point, and I feel like first and third we played really good. Second wasn't great, but good game.
Where have you seen the PK improve the most?
I don't know. Just you always try to change something a little bit. All the teams kind of change the PK a little bit always as the season goes on, and I feel like guys were doing a really good job when it's needed to block the shot. Guys blocking the shot. Goalies were really good, and it's kind of cool.
What was so good about the 5-on-5 too, though, for you guys to be able to get as many, nearly 50 shots on goal tonight? So something had to be going right in that department as well.
Yeah, I try to play fast, play in their end, and I think first period was really good. Then second we didn't have much, but third we were kind of back on the track. So if you're not gonna shoot, you're not score. So just like that.
You had to identify one point of the team's 9-game win streak that, we're doing this right. What would you say it is? Because you've won shutout games like tonight, you've scored 6, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, we always stay with the same game, with the game plan, and obviously, for example, last game, third period, we had a little problems, but we always stay with it, and all the guys playing great, and that's it, I guess.
What does it mean, though, to be a part of this streak, though? You know what I mean? I know Stanley Cups are not won in December and January, but this is historic what you guys are doing right now, and for you to be a part of this team, what does that mean to you and your teammates?
Yeah, I mean, for all of us, it's fun. Every time you're winning, it's fun. If you're losing, it's you're always struggling on and off the ice a little bit. So we're just trying to play the game the right way, I guess, and it's been working, and we gotta keep doing that.
All right, thanks, Netch.
Yeah, so Marty Necas echoed a lot of what we've been saying this episode of the second period wasn't great for the Hurricanes, and they had nearly 50 shots on goal, and this is a game that like I said, they were supposed to win with that. And the second period is definitely the one where everyone's we see that final score. It's great, obviously. Yeah. But that second period was not good. The Hurricanes taking their penalties. And, one other thing, that I mentioned, when the Hurricanes are firing on almost all cylinders is the power play. The power play is still abysmal. They went 0 for 3 in this game against Chicago. And, you can, they're on a 15-game point streak. All right. They're on that. And that's great. They've won 9 straight. Again, that is great. But your power play the way it is, that isn't sustainable, come playoff time. Yeah, you can beat a team like Chicago with a power play performing the way it is. But then you get to the playoffs and you play 7-game series against Pittsburgh, Toronto, Boston, or whoever. I mean, that's just the Eastern Conference. That's not even saying that if they get to the Stanley Cup final, who they play out of the West. Okay. So their power play has seriously got to do something. And it's getting to the point where it's hard to just pinpoint, one thing, with it. I mean, you obviously like, oh, they're not scoring goals. Yeah, that's the obvious thing. But like, I for a while I was like, okay, it seems like it's slowly improving, but it is just not there this year. And I don't it's getting to a point where I don't even know what's causing it to be this bad, because it's not like you have a roster that a roster that doesn't have talent. Okay, it's not like you're carting power play units out there that are glorified AHL power play units. It's not like that where they're just outmatched and getting outplayed. I mean, they are, but on paper, the names you're putting out there, that shouldn't be the case. So I don't know what's going wrong with the power play at this point in time. I don't, because you have the talent there. It's just these puzzle pieces they're not fitting together, and I really hope they're able to turn a corner. I hope this is just another bump in the road for it, because as a whole it had been improving. So I hope, we're just on a little bit of a bump, but this is something that it was one thing at the beginning of the year in October and November. We're almost to January. You're kind of seeing like what it's gonna be like, and they have really got to get it turned around, and or at least get it started to turn around, and quicker than what it had been, because you're not gonna win a Stanley Cup like that. Playoffs last year, yeah, they technically, if things fell a certain way, they could have made the Stanley Cup final without ever winning a road playoff game. But that, like we said then, that isn't sustainable. And look, it wasn't. So, the Hurricanes have seriously got to get that turned around. But, we just got to take it one game at a time, stop, and just, like I said, focus on one game at a time. The next game, Florida Panthers, let's focus on that one and really try to do something with the power play. And then, all these other things that the Hurricanes are doing well, 5-on-5, penalty kill, and the defenseman, having a combined 40 points in the last 15 games, like we said earlier. Let's keep this stuff rolling, and but the power play, say we're a 6-cylinder, or 8-cylinder or whatever, we're missing one here. We're only firing on 5 cylinders instead of 6, or 7 instead of 8, whatever you want to drive, in terms of your engine. We're missing that final one, and it's got to get fixed soon, because it's going to get to a point where the teams you're going up against they're just too good, and they're going to take advantage of that. Because again, you go back to that game against Detroit where it was a 1-0 shutout. What was that goal? It was a power play goal, and they make a difference. And the Hurricanes have seriously got to get that under control. But, we did get here from Rod Brind'Amour after the game as well. And we will hear what Rod had to say right after this. All right, folks, we're back, and it's time to hear what Rod Brind'Amour had to say after last night's shutout over the Chicago Blackhawks.
Very sharp first period, then the penalties kind of got you.
Yeah.
Strong finish to the game.
Yep. It was a great start. Really, that's what put the game kind of in good shape for us. And then, we took the penalties and just took the flow right out. It was just hard to kind of get any rhythm going through that second. And I thought third was really good.
other times players and coaches will worry about the first game after a break. How nice is it to see that it looked like you picked up where you left off?
That was definitely a concern. I think we talked about it in the morning. But I guess you saw first period was great, and that's nice to see that we came back ready to go.
How hard is it for guys that are sitting on the bench while the PK's out there? Like
Terrible. Yeah, can't get on the ice. I don't think he had a shift in the first 7 minutes, and then and then it's the first one's a power play. So that you could just tell it was not in sync there. So it was that's part of it. You got to figure it out. You guys did.
Roddy, how important was it for you guys to come out and be the superior team? You know what I mean, with Chicago being where they're at and you guys being on the streak that you're on right now.
Yeah, I mean it's a dangerous team to play. The skill they have, and the nature of it. Like we've been off both teams. You just don't know how it's going to take shape. But it's like I said, it was great that our guys came ready to go, and we're supposed to win those games, but you still have to go and do it right, and we did.
You count on the stall line for good defense and all those kind of things. I mean, the scoring they were doing.
Yeah, it's almost feels a little like they're making up for all the times when they were all over it and didn't get goals. And now all of a sudden it's evening out a little bit.
Why does that line fit together so well?
Just work hard, and they play it right.
How important was it for Rance to have a performance like he did tonight?
Yeah, I mean it wasn't abundance of work, but when they're like I always talk about, the time they save when you need it on the PK, on the where we had in the first period we were really good, but we had one real bad mistake, and he made the save, and now we're up 2-0 going into the second, and not 2-1 where it's a different story.
At what point today did you decide to go with Rod?
We talked about it last night, and then we just felt like you can go either way really, but we went back with Rance.
Roddy, if I could get one more question in.
Sure.
I know Stanley Cups aren't won in December and January, but the streak that you guys are on right now, I mean, does it mean anything to you at all to kind of like be a part of this and be the leader of what you guys are accomplishing?
It's hard to say. I mean, we never really, like we said this morning, don't really look behind, so whether you'd won, what is it, 8-9 in a row, or you lost 8, like what have you done for me lately? Like what's important is right in front of you. So those are kind of things you'd probably look back on and reflect on. I think I saw some sort of thing on the TV there where we done 9 in a row in 06, and I was trying to think back. It doesn't really matter much right now. It'll probably mean more at the end of the year when we look back. That was, hopefully that was a good stretch that got us to hopefully where we want to be. Okay.
Thanks, Roddy.
So obviously getting here from Rod, echoing a lot of the stuff that we've talked about in this episode already of, Annti Rannta, getting a shutout, and, the streak that they're on, and, all that. So, we're not going to dissect that too much, but, I think that, the Hurricanes, like I keep saying, they got to take it one game at a time. But, and getting to that next game, one guy we won't be seeing, and we're going to discuss this briefly, is the roster move earlier today, is Jack Drury getting reassigned to the Chicago Wolves. He'd been a healthy extra the past 2 games, so really no surprise here. It's just, guys coming back into the lineup, and that kind of thing is gonna happen. I think, what's gonna be interesting is whenever Max Pacioretty comes back, of what the lineup will look like then. And then Ondrej Kase as well, when he will be back. So the Hurricanes are gonna have names coming back before too long. When Sebastian Aho made his return not too long ago, and before we know it, Pacioretty and Kase will be as well. So those guys have been practicing, and one thing, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, I could have been today. It was in these past couple of days. It's that time of the year where every day starts to blend together. But Max Pacioretty is no longer wearing the yellow no contact jerseys, practicing normally. So before too long, he'll be out like officially on the ice with the Hurricanes. And we've been discussing the Hurricanes power play woes, of him potentially slotting in there on one of the power play units, how that will help. I do think it will. If you remember back, whenever the offense was just struggling in general on 5-on-5, not including the power play, a lot of folks like Max Pacioretty comes back, he's going to be a real big help with that. So I do think he'll help with that, even though they got things going right now. And then with power play, I think things will continue to go up for the Hurricanes. Obviously, the streak will come to an end at some point. Hopefully, history doesn't repeat itself and the Florida Panthers end it again. Let's hope that's not the case. But, we'll discuss that game against the Panthers whenever it comes up later on in the week on Friday. But in the meantime, it's time to start talking about some end of year stuff. 2022 year in review for the Hurricanes, as well as what I want to see in 2023 for the team. All that will be coming later this week, along with that preview and recap against the Panthers. So in the meantime, make sure you are following the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes, and myself on Twitter at Jared Ellis_96. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode.